from Badagry down to Lekki. So we are making the waterways unconducive for these perpetrators to have freedom of action. So, based on intelligence as well, and of course, deploying the state-of-the-art facility, I'm talking about the Falcon Eye facility, we also gathered that products in jerry cans were being brought from neighboring states, and they are being transferred into trucks, into tankers. And of course, men were deployed there. And when we go to the community is Folu, the name of the community is Folu in Ibeju. It is a border community between Lagos State and Ogun State. And behold, what we found there was that 18,000 liters tanker with products suspected to be AGO, with pumping machines, OCs, and jerry cans. Of course, the perpetrators fled on sighting the men, but were able to apprehend the truck and other equipment that are being used. And I want to use this opportunity to appeal to parents and guardians to warn their children and their wards to avoid this kind of illicit behavior. Because going forward, the Nigerian Navy and other security agencies will become very, very hard on them.
The items are still in the base for further investigation in line with standard procedure. The Nigerian Navy assured that it will apply force to end these illegalities in order to enhance the maritime economic prosperity in Nigeria. Destiny Momo, Plus TV News.
Indeed, that was a remarkable feat achieved under the ongoing Operation Waterguard NNS Beecroft Patrol Team. We say kudos. Moving maritime security to legislative business now. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, unveiled the legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives with a commitment to deploy every legislative instrument towards meeting the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians. The official unveiling took place at plenary. Plus TV Emmanuel Ehijene completes this report.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, unveiled the 10th House legislative agenda entitled The People's House. During the launch, the Speaker says the 10th legislative agenda is rooted in the fundamental belief that the primary role as lawmakers is to serve the best interests of constituents. Abbas says though the House recognizes the diverse needs and challenges currently facing the nation, it is optimistic that together President Bola Tinubu will provide long-lasting solutions to set Nigeria on a sure path of development.
The legislative agenda of the 10th House of Representatives, aptly titled The People's House, is rooted in the fundamental belief that our primary role as lawmakers is to serve the best interests of our constituents. We recognize the diverse needs and challenges currently facing our nation. Despite this, we are optimistic that together with His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will provide long-lasting solutions to set Nigeria on a sure path of development.
His Senate counterpart, who was also present at the launch, Godswill Akpabio, also lauded the House for leading the way in unveiling its legislative agenda, saying when the Senate also presents its own, it would ensure it does not depart from the agenda of the House.
I believe that we have gone beyond the call of tradition, and we have reason to respond to the call of our dear nation, Nigeria. We have wrapped this agenda around issues germane and crucial to our national development. And you have committed yourselves to supporting the executive arm of government, led by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to succeed in the renewed hope agenda already espoused by the Secretary to Government of the Federation.
On his part, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, praised the Speaker for the initiative. He says a focused and forward-looking legislature is a panacea for a thriving democracy in any nation.
The people of the Nigerian Reserve Legislature pledge of leadership and membership, the House of Representatives, and a demonstration of their commitment to service.
The legislative agenda is designed to provide the necessary legislative support to the 8-point agenda of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu Renewed Hope Agenda.
Nigerians are indeed looking towards getting better legislations from the National Assembly, even as the various committees begin sitting and oversight functions. It's time for a short break now. We will be right back with more stories. Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. I am so excited about this report, which celebrates womanhood. It's a book launch. The role of women in nation building has been re-echoed through a book titled Peleruwa. The book, written by Associate Professor of Psychiatry and newspaper columnist Dr. Femi Olugbile, co-author, was unveiled in Lagos. Plus TV correspondent Love Ikuku Oyedokun was there and now reports.
It is the launch of the book Peleruwa. It reveals the untold story of gender politics in early colonial Lagos and Nigeria. The book encapsulates the historical foundation of Lagos and Yoruba land. It beams a searchlight on a woman, Alimotu Peleruwa, a heroine in Yoruba land. Dr. Femi Olugbile is the author of Peleruwa. He shares more insights into the content of his book.
In the course of my work, I met Alhaja Abibatu Mogaji, and I found her to be very powerful and very inspirational, despite the fact of her limited education. And then when I read history further and I discovered Peleruwa, who was actually a true historical figure, I found some commonalities between those three characters, and I decided to look further into the character of Peleruwa. And that's what I found was that many things that happened to her were emblematic of developments of Lagos in her time, and she had a very major impact. And a lot of those things can be transformational if the present generation can imbibe them.
The book is captivating and compelling as it offers a fresh perspective on lesser-known aspects of Lagos history. Dr. Olugbile believes that Peleruwa would deeply impact its readers.
All the children of Lagos should read about Peleruwa. They should read this book. I think it will help to connect them with their past and help them to recognize that they have within themselves great power that they need to tap into, they need to connect with, and they need to carry forward to help. There may have been some difficult things happening in the recent past, discouraging people and making them feel low about themselves. If they read empowering testimony about their actual past, then it can make people connect to their inner selves and lead their children to have great responsibility and open the stars for better living for all of us.
The reviewer, Bashorun J.K. Rondo, recommended the book to all and sundry, describing Peleruwa as brave and combative.
So that God will continue to hear our request. So to call down all the holies now, let me invite Mr. M.O. Daufu to come and give us the opening prayer.
To further confirm matters, the author occasionally lapses into racial profiling.
Olugbile has authored 6 books, including Lonely Men, Leader, 10 Ahead, Bartolika, Heroes, and the latest edition, Peleruwa.
Whilst Peleruwa was in charge of the market women and men then, Abba Macaulay was practically the leader of the political leader as at then, and they both contributed a lot to what we now enjoy as our Lagos. So I'm very happy with the author for putting it down, and we also encourage other Lagosians and some other people that are very knowledgeable, that have experience, to share their experiences by putting it down so that generations yet unborn can go back to those books and read.
And this book will just complete history. And there are many more books like this that should come out to show the role of women As for the author himself, I'm not surprised that he's such a wonderful author, because even as a psychiatrist, he's one of the best psychiatrists Nigeria has ever produced. So whatever he does very, very well.
According to the author, Gbelewura was the founder of the Lagos Women Market Association, the first in Nigeria. Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
Yes, you will agree with me that the role of women in nation building cannot be overemphasized, and as such, women should be more visible in the decision-making process of government. Let's talk agriculture and food security now. From statistics available in the country, Nigeria post-harvest losses today stands at 3.5 trillion naira, meaning about 94.5 billion annual losses per 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory, if shared equally. This was the submission of stakeholders during a conference on ways to achieve food and nutrition security in the country held in Abuja. Plus TV Emmanuel Ehijeni completes this report.
The message was delivered by ActionAid Nigeria in collaboration with Small Scale Women Farmers Organization and the CAADP Non-State Actors Group at a conference in Abuja on Tuesday. Recall that in July 2023, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu declared a state of emergency on food security situation in the country. For now, the key areas to address these losses is to focus on reducing this alarming rate of post-harvest losses through the provision of access to processing and storage facilities for farmers in the country.
So we are talking about where there is quick win. Provide communities with processing facilities. If they are doing massively rice, provide them with rice processing facilities. If they are doing massively cassava, provide them with cassava processing facilities. If it is maize, different value chain, and we can get that. Then you can also see that access to transport is only 10%. So we are in a dire situation. So imagine if we can save 3.5 trillion into our economy through this type of investment. This support should be given to cooperatives. Let them own it and run it.
One of the key areas for quick wins and results for our food and nutrition security is to focus on reducing our alarming post-harvest losses. Post-harvest losses is one of the foremost challenges faced by smallholder farmers, especially women in communities in Nigeria. It devastates our efforts and income, leaving us poorer and continues to hinder Nigerians' food and nutrition security.
The group also stated that 133 million Nigerians are living in poverty, and out of this number, 106 live in rural areas with agriculture as their major occupation, which is why the government must invest heavily in agriculture.
But Nigeria's economic growth has not delivered inclusivity, resulting in widespread and alarming poverty and inequality across the country. Economic growth can only be inclusive if it reduces both poverty and inequality. Therefore, if smallholder women farmers are to benefit from the implementation of this agreement, trade barriers facing women must be dismantled through adequate investment, public investment in agriculture, especially in post-harvest losses, reduction support. With this investment going towards processing facilities, storage facilities.
The group also made some recommendations.
The President and the state governors should take charge of the agriculture sectors for our food and nutrition security by deliberate massive investment, especially in post-harvest losses reduction. Number 3, the federal and state government should concentrate on small cottage processing and storage facilities in communities based on different commodities to the own operated, sustained and expanded by smallholder women farmers cooperative.
The group is convinced that with adequate processing and storage facilities for Nigerian farmers, the agriculture sector can contribute greatly to the GDP of the country.
And lastly, to labor and economic matter. The Private Telecommunication and Communication Senior Staff Associate of Nigeria, TECSAN, has condemned what it described as act of brutalization and dehumanization of the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Joe Ajaero. This was contained in a communique issued by the union at the end of its second quadrennial National Delegates Conference, which held in Lagos recently. Details in this report.
In the struggle for our men, there is victory.
It is yet another 4 years, and members of the Private Telecommunications and Communications Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, TECSAN, have gathered for their second quadrennial conference. President of TECSAN, Okpeyemi Tomori, released the journey of the union from the challenges of COVID-19 to the present economic challenges, including how the exchange rate has affected business performance, union membership and grievances, among others.
It has been a challenging mix for all our members in the private communications industry as well, when we consider the effects on the home front, where whatever has been sustaining the family couldn't pay the bills any longer.
The comrades are not unaware of the biting macroeconomic challenges as they called on President Bola Tinubu to address the downturn. They also shared their reservations about the issue between the Nigeria Labour Congress and the Imo State government.
Sincerely, it's barbaric because we're in a place where we have police for thug to attack a citizen, not even because Comrade Ajaero is the president of the union. It's barbaric, it's not fair. We should have right to life, and dignity should be attached to everybody's life. So the government cannot play an ostrich to this, because truthfully they are aware. Because now you can look at it, we remove subsidy, and at the same time we are now buying Yacht. We are buying 160 million vehicle for our people. So I believe that if subsidy is the only thing being enjoyed by the citizen, we should leave it.
The macroeconomic policies, particularly the management of the forex, the other relates to energy and what impact that has on local manufacturing and local production and jobs. Because for TECSAN, they in services industry, telecoms, they rely a lot on energy, electricity, they rely a lot on diesel, they rely on all kinds of energy. The same thing with people who do direct manufacturing in textile, in chemical, in food. So a lot of our members are really groaning.
Yeah, we condemn that fully as TECSAN for the attack on the president of NLC. It is something that is so uncalled for. And it's a very bad signal when things like that start happening to leaders, especially leaders of unions. Regarding the economic situation in the country, everyone is affected. And we expect that we would get a presidency that can actually react accordingly.
The conference is themed Empowering the Future and Navigating Digital Frontiers. Members say digital transformation is important to improve business efficiencies.
Digital transformations in telecommunication is highly important to improve businesses, increase operational efficiencies, and provide ultimate customer experience. It is the process of incorporating the latest tech with the drive of organizational growth and gain in a competitive environment.
We had known members, but now we have branches that we can be proud of that we have. And also we have been able to negotiate a collective bargaining agreement, which means the working conditions are improved for our members.
TECSAN says it is poised more than ever before to fight against anti-labor activities within the information and communications technology sector, as well as go after multinationals that hide under the name of outsourcing to enslave workers.
And that's all on this edition of Plus Reports. But before we go, let's remind you to follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Instagram, and X. And also do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. I am Uyime Elijah. Thanks for watching.
Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria with 351,861 hectares of land, is the authentic home of every tribe and tongue in Nigeria. The state, though small in landmass, is controversially the most populous state in the country. One of the neighborhoods in the state is Obalende, located in a Tiosa local government area. The area is strategically a historic site because before the relocation of administrative capital from Lagos to Abuja, it was the seat of power of the military head of state, the Dodon Barrack. Historically, a Royal West African Frontier Force, predominantly Hausa men, were initially camped on the land where the famous King's College is situated. Then there was a need for the use of the land, and the Oba of Lagos was said to have pressured the governor of Lagos to resettle the Hausa men and sold the land in what is now Obalende to the British colonial masters. After resettlement in the purchased land, the Royal West Africa Frontier Force men named the place Ibiti Obalewade, which translates to the place where the king drove us to. Obalende, though crowded, is famous for its nightlife and for its suya sport, with a junction popularly called Suya Junction. For ease of administration, former governor of Lagos State, Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, created additional 37 local council development areas from the existing 20 local council areas. So the current Obalende is carved out under Ikoyi Obalende Local Council Development Area. Ikorodu town is another historic location in Lagos, located in the northeast area of the state along the Lagos Lagoon and shares a boundary with Ogun State. Currently, the town houses Ikorodu local government area and 5 local council development areas. Kabiru Shotobi is the king of Ikorodu, traditionally known as Ayogbunre of Ikorodu, who ascended the throne from October 24, 2015. The name Ikorodu came about from people whose ancestors descended from the Remo stock of Yoruba tribe who came to settle on a plateau and named it Ikorodu, a shortened word from Oko Odu, which literally means Odu, farm. The current metro area population of Ikorodu in 2021 is 989,000, a 5.44% increase from 2020. Trading, farming, and manufacturing are some of the things Ikorodu is known for. Ikeja is the capital of Lagos State, formerly called Akeja. It was named after a deity of the Awori people of Ota, who originally settled there. The area was invaded for slaves until the mid-19th century. Ikeja, an abbreviation meaning of Ikorodu and Ekpe joint administration, was coined by colonial administrators for ease of administration. It is the official seat of the governor of the state, where the state secretariat is also located. It is also where the domestic and international airports are located. Its population as of 2006 census is 330,196. Ikeja is home to one of West Africa's largest gadget markets, popularly known as Computer Village, and home to a shopping mall known as Ikeja City Mall, which is the biggest mall in Lagos mainland and also has a cinema. These are some interesting places that make Lagos a world-class destination.
One woman tried to abolish this practice in Zimbabwe. It's widely practiced in Kenya. It can't be refunded in Uganda, but a modest amount of money and a kola nut is acceptable in Senegal. We're talking about the customary practice of the dowry and bride price, both highly regarded in many cultures across the continent, but also seen as vessels that reinforce negative stereotypes. So which one is it? Well, that's the topic of this episode, and we're glad you can join us. I'm Ayan Bior, along with my colleagues Ariane Itangi-Shaka and Haiti Adams Fitzpatrick, and we're joined by Aisha Moazu from the Hausa Service and Marvelous Nyahuye from the Zimbabwe Service. Welcome, ladies.
Welcome to the show.
So, ladies, first things first, there's a lot of confusion between the terms, the dowry and the bride price. So, by definition, the dowry is a transfer from the bride's family to the groom's family. And the bride price is the opposite. It's a transfer from the groom's family to the bride's family. Now, obviously, this varies from country to country. In South Sudan, for example, we call it the dowry when the groom gives to the bride's family. But of course, in Nigeria, for example, there's a lot of differences.
To me, the bride price is a token, that highlights the degree of commitment by the man to the woman. And in Nigeria, it differs. It cuts across the religious and cultural,
barriers.
Barriers. Okay. In the upper north, we have both Christians and Muslims, but the Muslim north practice dowry, which is guided by Islamic injunctions, and it should be nothing less than a quarter of a dinar. While the Christian north practice something similar to what they practice down south and the east and the west. There you have the traditional marriages. The woman is sorted for by the groom-to-be. His family, presents some gifts that cuts across all cultures. Now, they have kola nuts, they have yams, symbolic items that represent their token, asking for the girl in marriage. I think, basically that tradition is a wonderful tradition, but because of the way we do, people practice it these days, it brings about other issues, challenging issues up north. We have issues of modernization, where you have, you have 7 days, going from one kind of ceremony to the other, and this, weighs a lot of burden on the groom.
I see.
And then it brings about issues of men not getting married. You have ladies.
And we're absolutely going to get to all of those issues. But Marvelous, I want to hear from you. You're from Zimbabwe,
Yes,
and I know it's
am.
multifaceted there too.
In Zimbabwe, I think we also have similar traditions to what is actually practiced in Nigeria. But in our customary marriage, it's called Rora in Shona, which is one of the tribes there. And in Ndebele, it's called Lobola. And I think it's the same in South Africa. But basically, it's the coming together of two families. It's a symbol of the love between the groom and the bride. So what happens is when the man decides that he wants to marry, he finds a negotiator called Munyai. And that negotiator will literally negotiate on his behalf on how much monetary compensation he's going to pay to the family, because he's given a list where he has to buy groceries that are eaten at the event and also some clothes and some cows. But really, it's just a symbol of the love and unity between the two families.
Absolutely. Well, this is a multi-layered conversation, and we want to hear from you at home. What does this practice look like in your country and your culture? Let us know on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Our handle is @VOA Our Voices, or send us a message on WhatsApp. That number is on your screen. And Ariane, I want to bring you into this conversation because these are practices that you hold very near and dear to your heart.
That's right. That's right, Ayan. I grew up here in the U.S. I've been here for 20 years. But about 8 years ago, I went back to Burundi to get married in a 5-step ceremony that took several days.
5 steps?
5-step ceremony. But, you know, in those ceremonies, one of them is called gukwa, where they give inhuano. That's the dowry. And I would actually trade my white wedding for that dowry ceremony, simply because of the meaning of it. The meaning of it is two families coming together, not two people, two families coming together to make a covenant, to help these two people who are in love to stay together and to be nurtured in so many different ways. And so when that celebration happened, I really, really was so proud of the culture, the Burundian culture, and that's why I really admire the fact that there is such custom. And I think that the covenant comes with gifting, and I appreciated the fact that there was gifting. Like in this picture, you will see my husband giving my mother a gift, and in this other picture, you will see myself giving my mother-in-law a gift. So we are exchanging gifts, we are showing humility, we are showing respect, we are showing love, and so that custom is
the
very
foundations
important.
of a healthy marriage.
Exactly.
Well, you know, what's so interesting, of course, this isn't something that is part of my culture, but of course, living and being in South Africa and being South African, I'm very aware of, as Marvelous said earlier, of Lobola culture. And that to me is somewhat still controversial amongst people. But as an outsider on this, what I love about Lobola, the idea that, you know, it's a show of gratitude to the bride's family for raising an upstanding woman, for the investment that they have put. I think no matter what culture you're from, and we all are from some tribe or other.
It's interesting how similar they are.
Right, and that, you know, that you talked earlier, Aisha, about symbolism. And I think we can take many things away from this, but the symbolism, I think, is what it was intended to be. You know, there's an interesting debate going on around the dowry, where the woman is the person who pays the husband's family a dowry. In India, in Indian culture, there's an interesting debate going on about what the dowry was meant to be and what it has become. The dowry was actually, when I was looking at this, it actually seemed to me, I'd like to think of myself as very progressive and very liberal in my thinking. And I could see that, you know, it started out as actually something that had very progressive intentions, that it was meant for the woman to enter into a marriage with financial security and financial resources, you know, in case of an emergency, so that she's set up, you know.
But it's interesting because in India, it's the women who control the dowry.
That is how it used to be. There is a professor of history at Baruch College in New York. Her name is Veena Talwar Oldenburg, and she has written a book called Dowry Murder, The Imperial Origins of a Cultural Crime. What's so fascinating about this is she talks about dowry crime these days, where women are now victims of domestic violence because of a dowry dispute. You know, and what's so interesting about this, she says that the dowry was, like you mentioned, something that was managed by women for women, but that with British colonial rule, that really, the social and the economic upheaval that came with that, women were stripped of their economic resources, women were stripped of their rights to inherit, and that is where this now became this issue where greed today has seeped into the culture. Families are demanding more and more of the bride, and if the woman's dowry doesn't live up to the man's family's demands, they can keep making demands on her, and that makes women vulnerable. They become they can become vulnerable to domestic violence.
Yes, and that is just one example of the evolution of the dowry and the bride price, and we're going to have a lot more on this conversation coming up, but we do have to take a short break. We have a lot more coming up, including the devastating details of a bride price story that took a life-ending turn for one young woman. But first, we asked our Africa Division colleagues how these practices vary in their countries, and it turns out each culture has its own spin. Take a look.
I'm from Ethiopia. The dowry process is Tilosh, and it's usually given by the groom for the bride. Groom will send his friends, the neighbors, and some elderly people along with a luggage full of gifts. Back in the days or in rural cities, they send the cattle, sheep, or goat, a certain number of cattle. But in the city, they send like luggage, and then they'll show off saying that we bought this clothes, we got this from some like expensive store, and we're bringing this for the bride to have it. And then they'll show off jewelries, a lot of jewelries that are made from gold and silver. And then all her neighbors, her dad, her uncles, her aunties, they will sit around and they will clap, and if they'll say we have accepted this, and they will take it to the room. And usually the groom and the bride are not allowed to be there. And then after that, at the end, everybody will feast. They will throw like a feast. There will be music, food. It's so beautiful.
I'm from Rwanda, and in my culture, bride price is ingwano, and the ceremony or the process of paying dowry or bride price is called gukosha. And it's a day of celebration. We usually gukwa, quote unquote. The bride price is in form of cows. We hold cows as a very important symbol in our culture. And so they always, the families of the girl and the boy will negotiate on the amount of cows that this girl is worth, and that is always based on, usually based on some factors, including her education, her background. But it's not really about the money or the number of cows. It's about these two families coming together to celebrate the union.
My tribe is called Zagawa tribe, and we live in the desert side of Darfur, North Darfur. The bride price, we call it Sidak or Tagi. In local language, they call it Tagi because they give it to the girl. So most of the tribe, they keep camels, and some of them they do cows, but mostly camels. So it depends on the what number they negotiate, like 150, they have to give it to them. So in my tribe, if you have girls, that means you're going to get rich because they will give you like a lot of camels. So if you have boys, that you mean you will be broke because you have to pay a lot to get them married. But the price is also had effect because as a girl, if you get married, you will never get divorced. You don't have divorce. You never get divorced because the divorce, they already paid your price, so you cannot divorce. Even the husband is passed away, you will marry the brother. If the brother passed away, you marry the other cousin. You just stay in that family forever.
Part of Our Voices is about more than just sitting here and talking about women's issues. It's about listening to them
and bringing their opinions to the table and making sure their voices are heard.
Because our lived experiences, our stories, and our voices will help shape the next generation.
You're with Our Voices. Welcome back. Despite claims that the practice of bride price degrades women and a recent dowry case in Nigeria that tragically ended in a suicide, the tradition is upheld as a cherished culture and religious symbol of marriage. Many Nigerian scholars say that Western world has misunderstood the concept of dowry or bride price and that it actually honors women. Chika Odowa has this report.
Sadatu Ahmed Manga is having a dye called lalle, or henna, painted on her body because she's about to get married. It's part of the wedding custom in northern Nigeria, which is largely influenced by Islam. But the most important marriage custom is the bride price, a payment of cash that the fiancé gives to the bride's family to show how serious he is about the marriage.
In Islam, bride price has to be paid before the wedding. Bride price started since the days of the Prophet Muhammad. May peace be upon him, and we continue it.
But more Nigerians are condemning the bride price as a degrading practice that requires payment for marriage and places a monetary value on women. women are largely left out of determining the bride price, which is negotiated between the male relatives of the bride and groom. In October, a 17-year-old northern Nigerian girl burned herself to death out of shame because her boyfriend could not afford the agreed-to bride price, which was less than $50.
Initially, this issue of dowry and bride price was more like a pleasantry being exchanged between the husband-to-be and the in-laws-to-be. And when it all started, I mean, from various cultures, it were little things that everyone can afford. But as time goes on, it became so big that most young people cannot be able to afford. So it's a thing of concern. So it's like business and using it to put people in classes.
But African literature scholar Dr. Agatha Ukata blames radical feminist ideology for the rising criticism of bride price. She also says the tradition is misunderstood by the Western world.
There is a cultural shock for the West for them to say that there's something called bride price, because this is quite different from what is obtainable within the Western culture.
Getting married in Nigeria is big business. In fact, the wedding industry here generates millions of dollars. But for many people across Nigeria, it's not the fashion or the glamour that symbolizes a wedding. It's the payment of the bride price. And if the bride price is not paid, then the couple is not married. Paying a bride price is the opposite of paying a dowry, which is wealth transferred from the bride's family to the groom or his family. The majority of Nigerians across all religions uphold the tradition of bride price and say, unlike a dowry, it underscores the value of a woman.
I think it's right. I think that's the only way you can show a lady to appreciate the love for her, like to show how much you love her.
And for families like Manga's, the marriage is not truly valid and celebrated until the bride price has been paid. Chika Odua, for VOA News, Yola, Nigeria.
Well, this is a tragic case and one in a million, I will say. And she acted on impulse. You know, that second when you just lose it all and you don't know what to do. And then she just did what she did. And then it ended up in that tragic situation. But there are other ways she could have gone about it. Because back in Kano State, when they started marrying off unmarried women, widows, and spinsters, the government organized weddings. And then that state where she comes from, Zamfara State, also said they were going to borrow into that and then adopt that same thing. If she had spoken to someone, probably she would have had someone to come and step into her. But come to think of it, why should I marry my daughter off to a man who cannot even pay 20,000? 20,000 naira is less than $50.
That's what they were asking for?
Yes. That's you know, the highest she could pay in a rural community like where she comes from, 20,000. But it doesn't just end at the dowry. There are other things involved, and I think modernization come into play here.
Yeah.
Because you have, like you said, 5 steps of wedding, ceremony. Sometimes you have 7 steps, different days, and you have to provide for the, you have to provide for her for the clothes she wears, for the food to eat and everything, and then the gifts to accompany her with it. And going to her own house, the lady also has to come into the marriage with something, like you said earlier in Heidi.
The dowry.
The dowry, and then something to give her some financial support when she, so that she can stand up. Yeah.
But in Zimbabwe, I would like to just come in and say, this is the situation now where you have the negotiator coming in to speak to the family of both the bride and the groom.
Right.
If they had spoken as families, maybe they could have resolved the issue.
So Marvelous, this makes me wonder, are these cultural practices hurting or helping the institution of marriage?
Helping and hurting at the same time.
Yeah, I think so.
I would say that they're helping in making the two families come together, and also when you have problems as two couples, you can go in there and go back to the family and get them to talk to you, and the negotiator comes in again and tries to negotiate for for a settlement of, you know, how you can move the love forward. But it also hurts now when we get to the situation where the family asks for an exorbitant amount.
That's right.
They will be like, she's a doctor.
Right.
We need to get all the money
That's
so the more accomplished the woman is, the more her dowry
That's
is.
what happened to a friend of mine
Yeah.
who could not afford
yes.
to marry, to pay lobola for a woman who was so educated and who he saw as his intellectual equal.
Yeah.
But she was a doctor, and the father kept reminding him that, you know, I invested in my daughter, so you've got to come up, put up, you've got to put up all this money, and that worries me. You start out your life with so much debt, just trying to afford the bride. But even he's saying he's considering marrying outside his culture or outside his race. What does that then do at the end of the day for the culture and the tradition and for making sure that
families are now looking at it as a
lives on?
source of income, which is very sad because initially it's just supposed to be a symbol of unity, but it becomes a source of income.
But that is exactly the problem, is that you have a lot of poor families who see the husband as a potential income generator.
Yeah, exactly. Like in my culture, like you have the 5 ceremonies, and in those 5 ceremonies, they say we're going to get something out of it. And when they start to look at the money, and it's unfortunate because, you know, these ceremonies are well-meaning, but the negative part, as you said, the consequences, as you say, Ayan, is when they start to calculate everything. But, you know, in the past, we never used to hear the complaints about the price of the weddings because they used to just use the minimum that they had.
And I
because
think also
understood
they
the
used to
minimum.
go back to the tradition to say, why exactly are we doing this? What's the symbol? So families have to sit down together and really discuss, why are we doing this? Whether your daughter is a doctor.
And these are
they do, but modernization plays a very key role here.
It does, and
But
these are
it's not
things
just
that...
modernization. I think we talk about modernization, and this is true, yes. But also, at the same time that our economies are modernizing, our economies are also in decline. And so we talk about income generation. People are looking for this as a money-making scheme.
And young people in particular.
A history professor, I'm all getting all academic here on the subject, but Jabulani Mapalala from the University of Zululand, according to his estimation, about 60% of black couples in South Africa are preferring to live in sin because they simply cannot afford to get married. Which again brings the question, what does it do then for the culture if then children are seen as being born out of wedlock or even as illegitimate, regarded that way because the parents never got married. So that and the fact that I worry that young people are sitting with this concern that we cannot get married, how legitimate is our union going to be? And also starting out their life in debt. I think when money comes into it, at the same time though, if young people, in an economy like South Africa's where there's so much inequality, people are either very poor and extremely wealthy.
And Heidi, we're also seeing a lot of very powerful and, you know, like independent women also coming into with a new practice that we're seeing. They help the groom to pay the bride price, so to speak, and that's taboo.
And to speak about modernization.
Even in Burundi, if you help your husband to pay for your bride price, it's very shameful.
And I personally don't see anything wrong with that. And I'm speaking as a young person who is not married yet. But for me, these are issues that we really think about. How much is it going to cost me?
Would you want a dowry to be paid for you?
You know what, I'm of 2 minds of this because you talked about the evolution of marriage or the evolution of the dowry, and that's something that I think about a lot because I think that it has created a lot of negative consequences for women in particular. But at the same time, I do see the cultural aspect. I think for me, if I was to be the negotiator, I would ask my groom's family to build a school, something that would last long within. But I know you don't think that's a good idea.
That because I would still want, if I were to ever remarry again, I would like my family to receive some kind of gift from my husband. Yes, not to the community. The government can take care of the community.
So when people see the symbolism, right? People love the symbolism.
Why government?
You think that
why should government take care of that?
The community.
No, the community, like a boho, a school,
like a school
but
or something.
For me, my family has to get something from my husband to be.
Thing.
That's the thing. It's a generational thing. I would still want to go
people,
back.
You know,
a bit older.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that it definitely is generational because to be honest with you, people my age are the ones who have had to sit with the consequences that were created by the older generation.
And I think
you know
also,
I agree with you 100% because in my culture, there are some ceremonies that you're not even supposed to speak nor be seen.
And
in some of the
supposed to feed the.
But in some ceremonies, I showed up and I was present.
Awareness. We need more awareness. We need to now talk to the younger generation
The
to
older
see
ones
this is
need
the
to
pros and cons of the culture.
And then so that they know that it's our heritage. And then we should hold on to our heritage. It's deeply rooted in our cultures.
And we can lose some of the ones that are not good.
But also
Yeah, we
ensuring
can-
that
you
at the
can't
end
buy
of
a
the day,
woman.
it doesn't set women up for a life of abuse and a life of disempowerment.
Not
Yeah, when
really,
men
no.
think that they
it
own the
comes-
women.
Right, that women aren't, and I'm going back to the dowry issue, where a dowry dispute can at the end of the day take a woman from something that was meant for her to be empowered to a point where she becomes
An asset.
a victim,
But I think
essentially,
also it's-
of
Well, there is-
domestic violence.
Social media has sold this custom as being buying the woman. That's what I think. And maybe we need to go back and explain that, no, this is our culture, and we are for and against some of the practices, but for me, it should stay.
Well, there's a woman in Zimbabwe who disagrees with a lot of us here, actually, and we're going to introduce you to her after the break. She is a vocal woman who is challenging the legality of the bride price custom in Zimbabwe. Stay tuned.
Being part of Our Voices is about more than just sitting here and talking about women's issues. It's about listening to them.
And bringing their opinions to the table and making sure their voices are heard.
Because our lived experiences, our stories, and our voices will help shape the next generation.
Welcome back. Each week we feature African women who are disrupting the norm and creating positive change around the world in a segment we call Women to Watch.
Our woman to watch comes from my home, Zimbabwe. Priscilla Vengesai filed papers to argue in the country's constitutional court that the bride price tradition amounts to discrimination based on gender and sex while perpetuating inequality. Alternatively, she wants parents of both the bride and the groom to be thanked for raising their children well through lobola in the spirit of gender equality. A lawyer by training and former Chitungwiza Municipality Chamber Secretary, Vengesai was uniquely positioned to present her case. Vengesai was bold enough to take her fight to the highest court in Zimbabwe, and that is why she is our woman to watch.
Sounds like she was very bold, huh? Well, be sure to watch Our Voices on the VOA website where you can catch up with the latest episode. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media where we have live chats on Twitter. Our handle is @VOA Our Voices.
And we now leave you with a quote from South African documentary filmmaker Sihle Hlope, who used her voice to say, "We have the power to make decisions and we respect our culture. When we question our culture, it doesn't mean that we want to do away with it completely."
And that's all from us today. I'd like to thank Aisha Mwazu from the Hausa service and Marvelous Nyahuye from the Zimbabwe service. Ladies, it was a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having us on the show.
Thank you for inviting us.
Absolutely. As always, thank you for watching. Good day.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
Now 500 naira they collect them. If you don't talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
Now, the financial technology fintech industry is evolving rapidly and is having a major impact on the banking sector. Fintech companies are using innovative technologies to offer new and improved financial products and services, which is challenging traditional banks to adapt or risk being left behind. The industry's role in shaping the future of finance in Nigeria formed the core of the conversations at the second day sessions of the 2023 Nigeria FinTech Week. Stakeholders at the event stressed the need for collaboration to bridge the financial inclusion gap across the country. On the show today, we'll keep our eye on FinTech and the future of finance in Nigeria. Welcome to Business Insight and Plus TV Africa. I am Justin Akadonye. Welcome back. Former Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Olusegun Aganga, has appealed to President Bola Tinubu to declare the industrial sector a national priority and back it with plans, policies, and finances. Aganga, who delivered a lecture at the third Adeola Odutola Lecture and Presidential Luncheon, said industry multiplies national wealth, creates jobs, and is critical for exchange rate and balance of payment management. Well, let's take that report and I'll be back to introduce my guest. Captains of industries, organized private sector, the United Nations Industrial Organization, UNIDO, and the federal government, among others, have converged on this whole. The key theme here is setting the agenda for competitive manufacturing under the AFCFTA, what Nigeria needs to know. Otumba Francis Meshoye is the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN. He hits the ground running by lamenting the slow rate of industrialization in Nigeria and the challenges affecting the performance of manufacturers. Other speakers believe that the AFCFTA can be achieved if stakeholders address the challenges affecting the nations.
We need to develop the right strategies and concerted efforts to position our economy as the number one manufacturing hub of the African economy. Evidences from several parts of the world, including China, United States, Japan, Germany, South Korea, have shown the importance of manufacturing sector in building a resilient economy.
The AFCFTA is not just an agreement. It is a platform for collaboration, even beyond the walls of Nigeria. How do we reach for regional integration that will give us competitive manufacturing? Nigeria must actively engage in regional and continental cooperation with the following steps. The steps that will bolster regional integration: we must strengthen our commitment to regional integration by harmonizing trade and manufacturing policies with other AFCFTA state parties.
This is why we have continued to prioritize the critical infrastructure and the implementation of policies and strategies aimed at improving the ease of doing business and strengthening the productive capacity of MSMEs across all sectors.
The former Minister of Trade and Investment, Dr. Olusegun Ogange, takes to the stage. He is of the opinion that embracing competitive manufacturing under the AFCFTA is crucial for Nigeria's economic growth and integration into the global market. He says Nigeria may not be able to compete with China now, but it can be a hub in Africa by investing in infrastructure, innovation, and skilled labor while addressing trade barriers.
It is important to make it absolutely clear from the outset that in modern global economy, industrial development is not luck. Industrial development does not happen by accident. It is a nation's choice. Countries must therefore have an intentional, precise, and intense approach to nurturing and expanding industrial activities.
In all, the experts say to become a prosperous nation with a strong naira and reclaim its position as a jewel of Africa, Nigeria must industrialize. All right, welcome back from that report now to the discussion proper. The impact of fintech on the banking sector is still unfolding, but it is clear that this industry is undergoing a major transformation. They are disrupting the status quo and are forcing traditional banks to adapt or risk being left behind. In the future, we can see or expect to see even more innovation in the fintech space. New technologies such as blockchain and artificial intelligence will continue to be adopted by fintech companies, and these technologies will have a profound impact on the banking industry. My guest, Olatunji Igbalajobi, is the Chief Information Security Officer at CIRBIT and is also a cybersecurity professional. Many thanks for joining me, Tunji, on Business Insights.
I'm Player here. Good morning.
All right, let's just get a bit of an overview of the fintech industry and its role in shaping the future of finance in Nigeria. What do you really think?
Yeah, no doubt the fintech industry has played a very significant role in shaping the future of finance in Nigeria. And it's not just only peculiar to Nigeria. We have seen a rapid transformation in our financial sector, due to the influence of technology and innovation from many startups. So these are actually, bringing, a lot of reaching out to the unbanked, the unserved people, the people in the remote area, to also be able to, participate in the financial inclusion. So there has been a very rapid increase in the financial inclusion as a result of innovation that comes from fintech organization. And if you look at it, you will agree with me that financial inclusion is one of the very ways that fintech has actually shaped finance in Nigeria. The underbanked, the underserved, people are now leveraging mobile payment platform, peer-to-peer lending, digital payment solution, to be able to carry out financial services. So these are actually proving that this is one industry that we need to really pay close attention at, and increase in digital payment too. There has been a lot of increase in digital payment from different innovation, from different startups. We have also seen an exponential, growth in e-commerce. Easily people can, carry out their business online, the online marketplace, and payment gateway have also made it easier for business, to sell their products and services across board. So all of these have proven that, fintech is actually one, innovation for finance that we can actually not, overlook. Access to credit as well. People now have alternative, technology platform to actually access soft loan, to carry out, one or two financial, needs. So investment in wealth management has also proven, because of the online trading platform as well that fintech innovation has also brought in. So all of this has proven that fintech is one particular industry that is really shaping the future of finance in Nigeria. And then we just have to take a very good look at the industry and see how much of opportunity does it still present for us in the future.
All right. It's good you've talked about the opportunities that abound from fintech in the future. Let's look at the nation's financial inclusion drive. The federal government has been pushing that for quite a while now. So what sort of collaboration do you think needs to be bridged to ensure that we get all Nigerians in this financial inclusion drive?
There is a need for regulatory functions. The regulators. One of the very important challenges that we've seen, is that the regulator has not really entrenched, a more holistic regulatory framework for the fintech industry. So there must be a very thorough regulatory function. The regulator must regulate well, and there must be also a very great collaboration among fintechs, especially in the area of technology, innovation sharing, technology sharing, and then again, diverse stakeholders. We need to have a diverse stakeholder, program whereby we are able to identify, the players, investors, regulatories, agencies that might be relevant to how, our fintech can actually also improve our financial services in Nigeria. And again, there needs to be a more awareness about how financial technology can actually help people who are underbanked, who are underserved, and see that enough awareness is actually there. And again, there must be also thorough risk management, because one of the very challenges that we've seen is that as much as fintech has enabled a seamless payment process, of course, there have also been some very, very much increase in some of the security-related issue that has to do with fraud. So there must be a thorough, fraud prevention management program. And then the fintech organization, companies also have to ensure that they tighten all their loose end in order to ensure that their customers' data, their customers' money are not just moving within the swift, of here. And again, because of the introduction of 5G, you will definitely experience, a more increase in fintech services. And then again, payment system is also going to be, the swiftness of payments is also going to be very, very much high now. So all of these have shown that there are a lot of opportunity. We just have to ensure that there are more regulatory frameworks in place. A multifaceted regulatory framework that comes from different industry players to ensure that we are able to, have an holistic output of our fintech industry.
All right, you will agree with me, Tunji, that Nigerians are very talented people, and what with the state of the economy and inflationary pressures, there's this Japa syndrome. So there have been talks about investment more in talent development and the need for fintechs to be more structured to explore viable frameworks and adopt a strong management approach. What do you really think, Tunji?
Japa syndrome. We can't limit our potentials, and we can't limit our experts. Of course, we have to harness them. We need to really harness them. And I know that agencies in Nigeria like NICTA, CBN, Fintech Association on timely basis, and often they come up with hackathon, whereby they allow young Nigerians who have innovation in, not just only in fintech, across other areas of technology, innovations, to come up with, products, and then, pitch it and possibly find a way to actually sell it to the market. Of course, this has also been some very important thing that we need, but of course, there is a need for us to really have a, proper framework for how we harness our, skills. And again, because we are now in a global community, and the workforce has actually moved, from the conventional method that we used to do. Not necessarily somebody has to be in an office before they can actually deliver any job. So the fact that you have potential who possibly leave the shore of the country to another nation doesn't really mean that they can still not provide innovation technology for the country. We just need to have a holistic framework in place in order to identify our talent. Even when they, decided to take their expertise somewhere else, we can still have them in the pool of our talent, and then still continue to engage them to make use of their skills in order to better innovation as regards to financial services in our country.
All right, at the FinTech Week 2023, some of the themes, some of the topics that took front burner included how emerging technologies like artificial intelligence can enhance security, enable regulation to power innovation in data insights. Good thing you are a cybersecurity expert. Can you share some of your thoughts?
Yeah, of course, no doubt. AI and ML, are also very, innovative and emerging technology that also has its own, both as much as it has its own pros, it has its own cons. We just need to understand, how much of what we really need it for, So of course, AI can actually come up, help you in the, fraud prevention and detection in real time monitoring. We are not talking about, after incident has occurred, and we are now trying to do an incident analysis. But AI technology can actually help in fraud prevention to ensure that there is a fraud prevention and detection mechanism in place that can be in real time. Then again, machine learning, to analyze big data and spot anomalies, identify if there has been any changes in data. Then all of these have actually ML AI can actually help fintechs in managing security aspect of the fintech because of the technology underlying risk. And then again, the risk management aspect of it, there are automation, risk management, compliance solution now, which leveraging AI, in order to ensure that organization, not just only fintech, but in perspective, looking at fintech industry, can actually help you in ensuring that monitoring your compliance. Are you truly compliant to regulatory demand, regulatory functions? All of this, definitely has come to play, and they are also going to help the financial technology industry in monitoring their systems in order to ensure that as much as they are servicing their customer, they're also servicing their customer with security in mind.
All right, it is still Business Insights on Plus TV Africa. We still have Olatunji Igbalolojobi. We'll take a quick break and we'll come back. We'll look at the need for diversification of product and, of course, how internet penetration is also affecting the fintech roles in the country. In a moment, we're right back. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. It's still Business Insight and Plus TV Africa. We still have Olatunji with us. Now, Tunji, let me just reel out some figures, and I want you to react to some of the issues that we have, or maybe challenges, as it were, and maybe you could offer some opportunities that we can explore from there. FinTech Global Research indicate that as at the second quarter of this year, Nigeria attracted 42% of the fintech deals in Africa, making it the most active destination on the continent. There are now some 250 active fintech firms and over 6,000 startups registered with various acceleration, incubation hubs, and fintech services institutions. This is a great news, Tunji. But then again, how would you really say the effect of internet penetration is affecting fintech business in the country?
Yeah, just like I mentioned, of course, there are still some, the broadband deep penetration issue is still there. We still have quite large numbers of unbanked and underserved citizens who have not really been able to make use of the innovations that fintech has present to carry out their financial seamless financial transaction and services, especially the people in the remote area who are the one coming out with product, more like first-hand product now. And then again, the ability to be able to get their product, even sell their product online without any middleman come to play, has also really limit that opportunity. But so it is important that relevant agencies, ministry that are important in the deep broadband penetration also make effort in ensuring that we are able to penetrate, the remote area, so as to be able to reach out to the underbanked, the underserved, Nigerians. And again, with the introduction of fifth generation technology, the 5G, I also believe it's also going to be a very good, it's going to actually increase, fintech services and fintech customers, exponentially, because, the high latency rate of how the technology is going to work, and then considering the fact that most of it is going to be using the fiber, connection, services. So this is also very important for us to look at, but it's important to identify that even though there are a lot of investors coming in to invest in the fintech services in Nigeria, expanding the fintech industry, we also the agencies that are relevant to deep bank penetration also need to play their own role very well, so that the financial inclusion can easily be achieved within the stipulated time.
All right, as we go now, Olatunji, you will also agree with me that innovation is actually the lifeline of the fintech ecosystem. Talking about innovation and how fintech companies can, reinvent themselves, as it were, I just want you to talk for 1 minute concerning how they can collaborate to diversify product offerings.
Yeah, of course. There are much we can actually do when we collaborate and compete, and this is one very important principle that we, at CEBIT, try to leverage on. We rather collaborate and compete because we understand that in collaboration we're able to expand, our services. We're able to, share knowledge. We're able to share ideas and principle innovations that will better, meet the needs of customers. So it is important for us to do a lot of, knowledge sharing. Data knowledge sharing in a responsible manner, ensuring that even there is a need for us to share data, we are sharing those data in a very responsible manner. And again, technology innovations too, you agree with me that most of what, fintech services rely on is around the API service. So, API, related technology.
All right, we seem to have lost Olatunji there, but there is also the need for fintech companies to explore new sectors like agri-tech, insurtech, and of course blockchain adoption was also encouraged at this year's FinTech Week. Do we still have Olatunji? Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
I just want you to just wrap up your thoughts because we lost you at some point. Yeah, just conclude what you were saying.
Okay. So I was trying to mention that we can do a lot with collaboration and competition, especially when it comes to technology innovation, sharing. Leveraging technology sharing is something that is going to actually help the fintech industry to also grow more in terms of ensuring that we have holistic frameworks. And also at the same time, we also have a deep broadband penetrations. Then again, we also try to diversify, like you mentioned, some of the, industry and sector that has not really been an area of focus. Industry can come together and begin to say, let's innovate, let's innovate about this industry, about this sector, and let's come up with a solution to better serve the real player in those industry. So much more collaboration bigger than competition. That's one of the very important things that I think that is going to actually help the industry to move forward.
Thank you so much, Tunji. Indeed, there's a whole lot that can be explored and lots of opportunities for the fintech sector. We do appreciate your time. Olatunji Igbalojobi, he is the Chief Information and Security Officer at CEBIT. Thanks for all of the input and insights that you have shared today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, and that's the size of the show for today. I am Justin Akadunye. Many thanks for being there.
Fundamentally, hustle culture is about work dominating your time in such an unnatural way that we have no time to live our lives. The demanding nature of our world now, where people have to pay multiple bills, take care of family, has led to the need to make more money to meet those needs. Coupled with the constantly increasing cost of living and inflation, people can't stop working. The weekends are no longer spent relaxing and spending time with family, but catching up on work that couldn't be completed during the week or doing other side hustles that can provide that extra money to cover some bills. Now, people log in long hours and take on side hustles for many reasons. Eloho, a 28-year-old woman, has to take on multiple jobs of being an editor by day, an English language tutor by night, and an invigilator on the weekends.
The cost of living has really increased. Like, the inflation is at an all-time high, and salaries are not increasing that much. Even if they are, a friend of mine calculated it for me and said, even if you're earning like 100% more, now your expenses are not like 100% more. For example, I moved houses twice in the last 3 years, and now the rent I'm paying right now is like 200% of what I started with on this same salary. So I say my salary is for 3 different things. So like the day job is for living expenses. Electricity tariff has increased twice. There's water bill, there's light bill, there's so many things to consider. Then my 9th job is for skincare. Your skin starts caring when you take care of it. So, and skincare is now more expensive, just keeps getting more expensive. So like things that make me happy, that's what one of my income streams goes to. Another is for rent, specifically dedicated to paying rent. And you know, I'm also a firstborn, first daughter, first granddaughter. So there's black tax too.
Oyidamola Abati is another young person who has found herself juggling many jobs and gigs.
In terms of the juggling, it's not so hard anymore. People do it now, like especially now that the pandemic changed everything really. Before the pandemic, people used to ask me, how do you do it? But now, everybody has learned how to do it. I have friends that are working 3 jobs, they are working 4 jobs. It's stressful, but you know, you have to survive somehow. So for me, when it comes to passions, things that don't have to do with money, I work maybe, I can say once a week or on weekends. I have my easel here, so I do my paintings. If it has to do with resume writing business, I set up a schedule that enables me to work on that. I have people that work with me. You know, once a client comes in, there's step-by-step process. It's been assigned. You know, we have processes. So these things, this structure helps me, keeps my life in focus. Everything, you know, has a structure.
With the rising cost of living, many people don't have a choice but to work at multiple jobs and also own businesses. The economic realities and the proliferation of entrepreneurship has necessitated many into working multiple jobs and hustles to make ends meet. The average young Nigerian works at a job and does a small business on the side. With such little time to rest, it's no wonder burnout has cropped up in our vocabulary since 2020. Burnout is a condition that is classified as an occupational phenomenon by the World Health Organization resulting from workplace stress that has not been successfully managed. It is a state of physical, mental, and emotional exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. As the stress continues, you begin to lose interest and motivation that led you to take on certain roles in the first place.
Last December was the first December in 8 years I did not fall sick. And December, you have a little break. The first day of that break, that's when I fall sick. Because my body is used to like just going and going and going. And as soon as I stop, the body's like, you thought I forgot. So there's this. It's never, and what's part about my kind of sickness is that it's never something you can find. It's really just stress. So in December 2019, I traveled, because I like to travel home every year. I went to Warri, and one Sunday, I just woke up and my body was hot. And so I was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, no, I'm fine. I wasn't eating, and I'm a foodie, so if I'm not eating, it's really bad. So I wasn't eating, so many things were going on, but I was really just hot, and I was shaking. And then I said, no, I'm going to church. So I went to church, and before I knew it, I landed in a church clinic. And then my mom came and she was like, what's wrong with you? And I was like, Mommy, I'm tired. That was the only thing. Mommy, I'm tired. The doctor was like, there's nothing wrong with you, but your body is just hot and you look like you're about to faint. I was like, Mommy, I'm tired. So I lay my head on her shoulder. My doctor was like, you're actually very tired. And they just admitted me. So I was just lying there on the bed. I remember I was wearing a new dress based on it was December. And I keep saying, I tell people that my new dress was christened in the hospital. I was just lying on the bed, like IV in my arm, and I was just tired.
I was like, I'm done. And I was like, for now, I'm just going to focus on my lecturing job. I know that even though it's a little, it can still pay some bills during the month. And I'm just going to manage for this period. So I took like a 3 to 6 month break. I said I wasn't doing anything else. So eventually, when I was ready again and I felt mentally up to it, I started applying for jobs again.
While hustle culture glorifies overworking as a badge of honor, it often sets up an environment of fear, guilt, and shame, especially when you don't feel like running at the same pace as everyone around you, according to Nicole Kamak, a clinical psychologist and the CEO of Black Mental Wellness. To avoid burnout, here are some tips. Seek support. Make time or find time to rest. Burnout can be preempted by learning to take breaks in between work projects. Don't wait till you're tired and burn out before you take a deserving rest. Take note of the activities that re-energizes you and schedule them into your regular activity.
My name is Titi Adeose. I'm one of the 3 female co-founders of Naija Kids, an edtech company that develops digital content for children. So what we basically do is we provide content. You know, with COVID and everybody going online, that's really where there's a major gap. And so we bridge that gap by providing fun learning digital content that makes online learning completely effortless and a lot of fun. So this started in 2018. So in 2018, if I take a step back, I'd been saying I wanted to do something for children because my son, my younger son, is a typical digital native. He doesn't like learning. Do you understand? We're always battling, fighting with the laptop. That's all he wants to do. So one day someone said that if that's how he learns, why not provide him content, for that? And I said, wow, okay, that's actually a good thing. So I now started developing content for him to be able to use on the device. And when more people were interested, that's really how Naija Kids came about. So we provide digital content. We take any subject, any topic, and just transform it in something that is fun, that children will want to learn. So now my son is the one that's always telling me, Mommy, have you done a game on fractions? Have you done a game on decimals? When I say go and do your book, say, okay, can I play a Naija Kids game instead? So for him, that's, meanwhile, this is someone that before I'm always battling with. I say, go and read your book. When I say go and read your book, he's coming. I'm going to drink water. Oh, I'm coming. I'm going to the restroom. Oh, I'm coming. And then 2 hours have passed. We haven't done anything. But now, playing something that he likes on a device that he likes was just excellent. And that's really what brought about Naija Kids. I studied engineering, so not even electrical, and computer. I actually studied mechanical, but my other partners studied computer science and computer engineering. So 3 of us came together. But I'd been an educator because I actually volunteer in church. So I've been passionate about education. I didn't know that I was going to end up here, but it's something I've always been passionate about. And the part that I'm passionate about is creating content that is fun. So I always say, how can I teach this topic in a fun way? I'm always saying, okay, let me create a puzzle. I go online, look for a puzzle maker and create a puzzle out of it. I say, okay, you know what? Maybe this is how I'm going to do it. I'm always looking for the fun angle to teaching the same subject. I don't want to bring it same old, stand in front and just, that kind of thing. Mine is, let's make it fun. Because I think about when I was young, what are the things that made learning fun for me? What are the things I still remember now? The truth is that the things I still remember now are all the things I did to fun. I tell people that, when you think of the Monopoly game and the streets of London, you only remember them because of the Monopoly game, not because someone taught you. So my idea is fun learning that makes it effortless, learning that makes children want to learn and they want to excel. And so when my son is now doing very well in school, he's like, yes, this is the secret, this is the secret. I'm not a genius. That's what he thinks now. Look about how you learned this, various countries, rivers in Africa. If I tell you, remember the rivers in Africa, I'm sure you remember them because we had this fun song. There are 7 rivers in Africa, 7 rivers in Africa. Oh, now, Niger, Senegal. So those are the things that we remember. Anything that our teacher taught us that was really fun. Years later, if someone asks you, you're just amazed at how much you remember it. And then with technology now, it helps us transform those fun elements, all those gaming elements. And that's really what games do. They transform the gaming elements, scoring points, climbing levels. Do you understand? Dressing up, getting things for your avatar. They're all fun things that we associate with the things that we are learning. The fact that I'm doing coins, I'm doing it against, playing against my mates. They're all competitions that we already do in the classroom. So the things that we already do physically, the only difference we've done is that we've made them digital. We provided them as digital content. Even me as a parent, marking my son's worksheets can be tiring. But when he's playing a game and it's a digital content, the answers are already marked. So it's stressless for me. So it's a two-way thing. I'm happy, he's happy, and we're all happy. Before I started, Naija Kids with my two partners, what I'd done is I was working in a consulting firm. So I worked in KPMG for over a decade, risen up to the role of senior manager. And then I left and then joined a colleague that set up a fast food restaurant. So that was really my first step into the entrepreneur journey, being an entrepreneur. Before then, I'd been in corporate. But all that while, I'd done things in education. So not only that, I sit on the board of an NGO that provides free education to children in poor communities. So I'm passionate about education. So it was just a lot of my loves coming together. My passion for fun, learning. My passion for creating things. Creating content. I did that from my consulting background, creating content, and then I just added the education, the games, the gaming elements, and all those loves just came together to then form what currently is Naija Kids. So what happens is that we have it on the App Store. So we have it online, we have it on the App Store. So you can download the app and then go subscribe to play the games. Select your child's age. The games are not only on academics, because when it comes to development, I believe in development of the total child. So I'm a proud Nigerian. People say, oh, Naija Kids. I say, yes, I'm Naija, proudly so. So I'm always promoting things about Nigeria. So we have games that promote things about Nigeria's culture, Nigeria's food. Apart from Nigeria, I'm also about people being successful. When I look at my career, I'm saying that we need to raise up the next generation of successful people. So financial literacy is key for me. I want my children to now spend money. I want to retire early. That kind of thing. So financial literacy is also another thing. So we bring all that together that makes the child complete. And then lastly, values. So we're also looking at values of honesty, of integrity, of hard work. So we bring all those elements, not just the maths, the English and the science. No, it's everything together. So it's really on the App Store. So either you do it on Android or you do it on iOS, which is on the Apple Store. So you download the app, you sign up, and then your children can play any of those games. The initial idea was really not about making money, but of course, when you go into a business, then you have to make money to pay your bills. So that was really the plan. So we sat down, we had this wonderful plan. Then we now started meeting the obstacles. What were the obstacles? The obstacle was internet is expensive. A lot of people don't want to do a lot of things online. So we now had to say, we have to develop an offline version of it. Then apart from that, then people don't have devices. The devices are expensive. So maybe, okay, how do we do it so that it's both on the mobile devices can also be online? So that was it. It was challenging. So we went to market schools, and schools were like, oh, they don't have the infrastructure for it. It was challenging. Education technology was challenging. Honestly, it was a very slow grind. I think the luck that we have is that because there are 3 partners, when one person is discouraged, the other person comes up and peps up. So it was hard at the beginning. So we had to start balancing with a lot of things. A lot of people wanted things they could take away because they don't have to. We then created an activity book version of our game, something that is hard copy. So that also helped them bring you. In business, you have to pivot, innovate. And then guess what happened? COVID happened. COVID happened, and then suddenly all the schools that were like, no, there's a physical classroom. So they didn't need technology. Technology wasn't a mandatory thing to have. Then COVID happened. And then all the talk about technology just changed. The landscape suddenly became enabling. You know what's so interesting? In 2020, when I started the year, when I was praying to God, I said, God, I was thinking that it was going to be a government policy that would come and create the enabling environment. I didn't know that Almighty God was going to just open the heavens, so to speak. And then that's what happened. So 2020 honestly was our best year. 2018 was like a year of struggle. And I remember months that we look at the revenue and nothing has come in. We look at the revenue, we pay our staff and we'll be the last people to be paid, and we're like, how do we hustle together? So it was tough in the beginning. There were a lot of those obstacles. Even getting parents to say there has to be fun in learning. Say, no, let him go and read his book. Each one is playing games. No, the computer is a distraction. It's a distraction. So when I see all of us now, our kids are constantly on devices, I'm amused, because in 2018 no parent was really about that. But 2020 opened up a whole new world, a whole world of a lot of collaborations, and so we have so many collaborations of people that want to now have the games in their classes, have the games on their various platforms. We've had a number of corporates that we partnered with in 2020. So 2020 was an awesome year, and we came into 2021 all excited and of the various things that will happen. There's pandemic, but I'm happy that technology is now, a front burner. We have been saying that, honestly. I tell people that when you look at all the jobs now, technology is such a key part. So you shouldn't bring up children without technology, and it can do so many things. Now, in the last, 6 to 9 months, the schools have implemented all sorts of technology, apps, learning management system, and they can see the difference. Of course, there's also the other side to it, but they can see the difference in terms of the learning. We had a library before in the school, but now with the digital library, they have access to thousands of books that you don't even have in your physical library. So technology opens, it removes all the restrictions. It has its own challenges, but it removes these restrictions. I think one of the things was about keeping an eye on the financials. So because I'd come from a consulting, auditing firm, even as the entrepreneur that I was with, my ex-boss, we were always looking at the money. So we're looking at the income, we're looking at the expenses. How are we going to pay the next bill? How is the money coming in? What products are making money, what are not? How do you cut off? I think that was really the most important thing that I took away from that you have to keep an eye on the money. I now tell every entrepreneur that you have to have these financial skills. If you don't know about money and you don't have one of your partners that do, it's going to be a major issue for you. So you need to know about the money. What's coming in? How is it coming in? What are you spending money on? Do you have money, what we call runway? Do you have money for the next 1, 2, 3 months? What if this doesn't work out? How do you keep the books? How are you funding it? It's so important you have that financial literacy. I think the second thing is about building structure. One of the things I've learned, is you have to have a structure for everything. Try and standardize everything. We have team meetings, we have templates for everything. We're having the team meetings, we're having even offer letters. A lot of those structures from corporate was what I brought. So when people see me, they're like, you are so organized. I'm like, yes, that's the background that I have in terms of managing things, ensuring there's a structure to everything, plan it, schedule it, time it, documents, even in setting up our own system and even moving remotely, and it was easier for us because we had done a lot of those things. We had meetings that we could have virtually. One person is not around and the person calls in on Zoom. So those are things we're already doing. We already had a way of communicating. We had our emails. We had things on the cloud. So a lot of those structures that we had made it easier to move, to remote learning. So that's one of the things that I took back. You have to have structure in your business. You have to keep upskilling your staff because you can't be everywhere. As you become the face of your business, it means that you're doing a lot more things than the actual operations. So when you're attending interviews, when you're going for all the marketing, you're not there in the operation. So you need to build that operation into a lot of documentation. We take time to document the process so that whoever is there knows what they need to do. And then we're always seeing what skills the staff need, how do we train them, how do we help them improve. So those are, I would say, 3 key things that help, and then just make it easier when you hit it big or when you're in the process of hitting it big. But I tell people that whatever you want to do, just start. Don't think about the money, just start. In hindsight, I converted a little store in my house to my office. So I brought out everything from the store, cleaned it up, put 2 tables and put 2 chairs, and that's where we started. To get to a place where you're going to pay rent. So I'll say start with what you have. Look for your first customers. I'm wiser now in terms of the next products we do. I'm already looking for who he's going to buy it even before I fully produce it. So I'm like, okay, this is our next idea. But I'm saying, let me go and talk to this corporate, let me go and talk. So it meant that in terms of money, that's really not your major hindrance, is to plan to have a goal. Start with your family and friends. The first people that I sold anything to were my family and friends. I still do it now. I write a list of 50 people that are my family and friends, and I'll start sending them SMS messages. I said, are you interested in this? Once you have that interest, then you already know the people. And I said, okay, can you prepare for it? Can you prepare for it? So that means I already have the money for it. Keep your expenses low. So when you do that, where you're not, going large, you're always looking for what's the cost-effective way of doing this thing. In the beginning, people can go and order people to come and do the videos. In the beginning, you do the videos on yourself. You get your husband or your son, so hold the camera. Mommy wants to do a marketing video. So my advice to people is that don't think about the money. Think about the idea. Look for the first group of people that you sell it to. Ask them if they trust you enough to pre-market, to pre-order. So you have some of the initial money, and you know that, okay, worst comes to the worst, I have the people that will help me break even if I don't make a profit. I think keep good records. You need to keep good records. Separate your personal money. So you know everything that is coming in and everything that is going out, and see that it's balanced. But I would tell people, just start. Don't think. It's not the money. If you say you want to start a salon, don't start with go rent a salon. No. Go and say 7 people that I'll be making their hair for. Who are these 7 people? Let me start to them. So I'll come to your house. Don't worry. Hey, madam, you need to buy the attachment. Send me the money. So that way you don't really have any cost. The only cost is the transport, which will be catered for by the person that makes, that pays you. So I say money is not an issue for any idea that you want to do. It's just start. It will not be perfect, but just start. When you start as an entrepreneur, you don't have all the skills. So you have for the core thing, but you don't have all the things. So you start collaborations. I remember that in the beginning, I'll call a friend of mine who's working in a company. I said, you want to do some PP? Okay, you help me with the graphics, So I'm saying the collaborations can be something as simple as that in terms of when you don't have everything, who are the people that can work with? And then the collaborations that we now do are other education technology companies that already have the market, but they don't have the gaming element. So recently we partnered with Gradely. Gradely is another ed company, but they prepare videos, learning videos for children. So we provide the games. We've partnered with Edvis. Edvis also provides a school management system. And we say, okay, can our games be on your platform? We keep partnering with various people that we say, okay, these people already have a platform, they already have a market, but they don't have what we have. Can we partner with them? Currently, we're partnering with Glow to have our games on, and we went live this week to have our games, on there. So we keep on looking for those partnerships. Sometimes the partnerships are not even that we are having our games on. So sometimes partnerships are, can you just garner the visibility? Our main clients are parents that have children within the ages of 3 to 13. When we first started, we were looking at parents that had the ages of primary school, so between 6 and 10. But as you have more demand, that people come and say, oh, I have a 3-year-old, so we went down to people that are in nursery school. And someone says, oh, but my child is in GSS 1, GSS 2, do you have something? Then now we've gone up to, junior secondary school. So it's really driven by the demand. And that's one of the things that we need to be careful about. When we first started, it was driven by my passion, what my son likes. But I had to sit back, get the feedback of saying, okay, I like this, but not everybody likes this. So I think one of the things that's important is that you're always evaluating who are your target market and what do they want. So a number of things that are driven by what their demand is. So when we started with some of the games, people say, what about in maths, in science, in values? We have the ones that we are passionate about. We also have the ones that are being driven by the customer. So increasingly we get feedback from customers, and that's so important in your business. Your business is not for you. It's something that you need to always remember. It's for your target market, and what are they saying? What are their demands? So even concerning the games, when I look at where we started to where we are now, people will say, okay, the games are too heavy to load, so that means I need to shed some of the excessive graphics that I put in there. So your customers are key. So we started with parents, and now we've moved to corporates. A lot of corporates, especially during this COVID period, saw, there was suddenly children could not go to school. They wanted to give back.